When I was younger, my dad showed more love and support towards my younger brother, leaving me feeling left out. While my brother received praise for his achievements, I felt like my own accomplishments went unnoticed. It hurt because I didn't fit into the traditional mold of what my dad expected from a son. I preferred things like cooking, reading, and singing over sports and other manly activities. As we grew up, this favoritism became more apparent. Despite my efforts, my dad continued to prioritize my brother's interests and aspirations over mine. This became especially tough when it came to paying for my education. My dad refused to contribute to my tuition fees, leaving me feeling betrayed and unsupported. But I didn't let this stop me. Despite the obstacles, I worked hard and eventually found a way to fund my education on my own. And as I succeeded, I realized that I didn't need my dad's approval or support to achieve my dreams. Eventually, I found my own path to success and happiness, proving to myself and to my dad that I could thrive without his validation. And while I may have once felt resentful towards my dad, I now see that his actions only fueled my determination to prove him wrong. My relationship with my dad took a hit early on when I couldn't quite keep up with his love for football. Unlike my brother, who embraced the rough and tumble world of sports, I just didn't have the knack for it. As a result, my dad and I drifted apart. He seemed to prefer my brother's tough guy attitude, always praising him while hardly giving me a second glance. Thankfully, my mom was different. She treated us both equally, and I cherished her for it. Even though I tried to mend things with my dad, it seemed like he wasn't interested in patching up our relationship either. Then tragedy struck when my mom passed away from cancer when I was in 8th grade. It hit me hard, and I struggled to cope. Cooking became my refuge. It was something my mom loved too. She often said she would have been a chef if life had taken a different turn. So, in the kitchen, I found solace amidst the turmoil. But my dad and brother didn't offer much support during this difficult time. They bottled up their emotions, distancing themselves from me even further. While I expected us to come together as a family, our bond only grew weaker. It was a stark reminder of how fractured our family had become without my mom's steady presence. My passion for cooking didn't sit well with my dad. He constantly nagged me to ditch the kitchen and toughen up. One day, he even threatened to load me up with extra chores if he caught me cooking again. In a heated argument, I told him he never loved me, and shockingly, he didn't deny it. That confrontation marked the end of any real communication between us. I stopped trying to please him, and he didn't seem to care either. For years, I buried myself in my room, immersing myself in music and experimenting with new recipes. I was determined to pursue my dream of becoming a chef, not just for myself, but also in honor of my mom. But my dad and I barely exchanged words unless absolutely necessary. My brother followed suit, indifferent to my existence. With my mom gone, I felt utterly alone. When it came time to apply for colleges, I took a chance and applied to both culinary schools and traditional colleges. I wasn't sure if my dad would approve, but I had to try. Thanks to some secret restaurant internships and a solid recommendation letter, I got accepted into several schools, including one of the best culinary schools in France. I was over the moon about the opportunity to study in France, but also nervous about asking my dad for permission. I was prepared to beg if I had to because my dream meant everything to me. So, I finally mustered the courage to tell him. I braced myself for rejection, expecting him to scoff at the idea of me pursuing a non-masculine profession. But what I wasn't ready for was his refusal to pay for my tuition. I was dumbfounded when he said he wouldn't fund my education, despite being well off. It wasn't about money, it was because he feared it would make my struggling brother feel inadequate. He wanted me to settle for community college or figure out how to pay on my own. I was shocked and hurt by his cruelty. I pleaded with him, explaining how much this meant to me, but he remained stubborn. He prioritized my brother's feelings over my dreams, saying he didn't want competition between his sons. I couldn't fathom a father crushing his own child's dreams like this, just to favor his favorite. After countless tears and arguments, when he still wouldn't relent, I had enough. I said some harsh words and left his house for good. I moved in with my maternal aunt after leaving my dad's place. It was tough leaving the house where I grew up with my mom, but I needed a fresh start. I didn't want to change schools, so I stayed put until I couldn't anymore. When I told my aunt about my dad's refusal to pay for my education, she stepped up without hesitation. Despite not being as wealthy as my dad, she rallied her friends and managed to cover all my expenses for culinary school. I'll always be grateful for her support. In culinary school, I worked part-time and gave it my all. I graduated as one of the top chefs and landed a job at a high-end French restaurant. I sent half my salary to my aunt to repay her kindness. Thanks to her, I didn't have to rely on student loans. After a few years in France, I returned home with enough savings to open my own restaurant. While working as head chef at another restaurant, I pursued my dream. Recently, I finally opened my own place with two friends who shared my vision. We named it after my mom, a beautiful coincidence considering her uncommon name in our city. Everything was finally falling into place. A few days ago, we had a small pre-opening party for some special guests before officially opening our restaurant. I invited my aunt and her friends who had helped with my tuition, along with a few friends from school. Notably absent were my dad and brother for obvious reasons. We hadn't spoken since I left home, and they never reached out. However, they unexpectedly turned up just before the party started. Claiming to surprise me, they managed to get past security with our shared last name. I was taken aback to see them acting like nothing had happened, greeting me warmly for the first time in ages. I was stunned and didn't know how to react. Thankfully, my friend sensed my discomfort and graciously left us to catch up. The shock of seeing my dad and brother again was quickly followed by another surprise. They brought a gift, a portrait of my mother. Dad said he had it commissioned for my restaurant once he heard about its opening. He claimed he always knew I had potential and was proud of me. My brother chimed in, praising me and expressing his pride too. It all felt off, and I sensed there was more to their sudden support. Eventually, they got to the point. My brother had landed a job as a bartender, thanks to a favor from one of my dad's friends. His grades had tanked in school and college, and he didn't get the high-paying jobs my dad expected. Despite slacking in sports, he didn't even secure a sports scholarship and ended up in community college. Now, they wanted me to make him a partner in my restaurant to give him a better image, despite him not earning it at all. Suppressing the urge to laugh in their faces, I told my dad and brother I'd consider their request. Truth was, I had no intention of doing so. I just wanted them to stick around for my plan to unfold. They seemed satisfied, unaware of what was coming. As guests trickled in, I mingled while my dad and brother boasted about me, oblivious to my real feelings. When it was time for toasts, my friends went first. I saved mine for last, eager to finally speak my mind. As I began my toast, I first raised a glass to my mother, the true inspiration behind my success. Her unwavering belief in me from a young age instilled the confidence I needed to pursue my dreams, even after she was gone. Next, I expressed gratitude to my aunt and her friends who had supported me financially through culinary school. Then, I addressed the elephant in the room, my family. I recounted how my father's lack of support and my brother's emulation of him made my journey difficult. I revealed how my dad's refusal to fund my education stemmed from his fear of my success overshadowing my brother's. Despite their obstacles, I persevered and became who I am today, proving my resilience in the face of adversity. As I spoke, I noticed the disdainful looks directed at my dad and brother, who at least appeared ashamed, though I doubted their sincerity. Playing along with their facade of warmth, I hugged them and declared forgiveness for the past. In a gesture of reconciliation, I offered my brother a job as a bartender at my restaurant, acknowledging their presence at my celebration. As I wrapped up my speech, the crowd erupted in applause, mistaking our exchange for a heartfelt reconciliation. Only my family and I knew it was a calculated move to embarrass them, and it worked like a charm. Despite their anger, my dad and brother had to play along, unable to storm out without causing a scene. Later, outside the restaurant, they confronted me, seething with anger. My brother's eyes were even filled with tears. They demanded an explanation for my actions, questioning why I didn't just turn them away if I never intended to make my brother a partner. I simply laughed and told them they got what they deserved for their years of neglect and favoritism. I walked away, ignoring my brother's cries and threats. It's been a few days since then, and I haven't heard from them. My aunt thinks I may have gone too far, but I stand by my actions. This was payback for their humiliation of me. Update 1. Hey, I want to let you know that I've decided not to say sorry to my family. Even though my aunt thinks I was too tough, I don't regret what I did, so I won't pretend to be sorry. When they visited me, they didn't apologize to me either. I told my aunt this, and although she still thinks I was wrong, she hasn't said much. I guess we just don't agree on this. And that's okay with me. On another note, my brother has been talking badly about me behind my back to our old friends from school. Since we went to the same high school, Now people are texting me asking if it's true that I kicked out my dad and brother from my restaurant after serving them old food. He's making himself out to be the victim, which isn't surprising. Normally, I wouldn't care about rumors, but I don't want potential customers to believe them. So I told my brother that if he doesn't stop spreading lies about me in my restaurant, I'll make sure he loses his job. Update 2. Haha. My brother texted me back saying he'll only stop spreading rumors if I make him a partner in my restaurant. I can't even believe how ridiculous and crazy this is. Plus, if he wants to be a partner, why would he talk badly about the restaurant? I'm pretty sure this is my dad's plan to get my brother a good job without him doing any real work. But I'm not falling for it. I've warned him that if he doesn't stop, I'll get my lawyers involved, and he has no right to negotiate with me. I haven't taken action yet because I don't want to make things worse, but he better not try anything funny. Update 3. Hey guys, it's been about a month since my last update. Sorry for not updating sooner. I've been really busy. So, after my brother stopped spreading rumors, my dad and brother visited me a few weeks ago to try to intimidate me. They showed up at my house threatening to sue me for using my mom's name for my restaurant and said they'd already talked to a lawyer. They told me I had to make my brother a partner if I wanted to avoid trouble. I didn't buy into their threat right away because it seemed too ridiculous for any lawyer to take seriously. They seemed to forget that my mom was also my mother, not just my brother's wife, and I believed I had every right to use her name for my restaurant. I was fed up with their nonsense by then, so I warned them that if they kept bothering me, I'd have to involve the police. My brother got angry and tried to grab me, but my dad stopped him. It seemed like he had finally reached his breaking point after all the humiliation. It wasn't my fault, and they were lucky I didn't call the cops right then. I told my dad to leave, but he asked my brother to cool off in the car and wanted to talk to me alone. He tried to guilt-trip me by saying my mom would be upset if she knew what I was doing to them and that I should forgive them. I had enough and told him to leave me alone. He shouldn't use my mom to manipulate me, especially since they never apologized for anything. I didn't understand why they expected me to forgive them without even asking. My mom would probably be disappointed, just like when my dad refused to pay for my education. I believe she's proud of me no matter what my dad says. At least my restaurant is doing well, and hopefully will expand soon.